Welcome back to the Point Guard Cast. With your host Sean and Corey. I'm Corey.
I'm Sean, man.
How you been doing?
What's up? I'm good. It's cold outside, so I'm in here snuggled up in a blanket, trying to get this done.
I know. Yeah, it's
it's cold.
I know, finally. But I got a feeling it'll warm up here soon. It always does.
It always does, yeah. It ain't gonna be cold for long. It'll be cold for a day. It'll be 20 for a day, and then it'll be 45 the next day, and then it'll be 61 the next day. So we never know what we're gonna get.
Exactly. But the NBA went kind of crazy yesterday.
Yep. It indeed did.
James Harden finally got that trade to Brooklyn that he was looking for, which was shocking. I mean, it was kind of shocking, but you also kind of saw it coming too, right?
Yeah, the Lakers broke them again.
It's hard to disagree. They might have.
Think about it. They broke them the first time when who was the Russell Westbrook's last game in Houston against?
The Lakers. Yeah,
right. Exactly. And who was James Harden's last game in Houston against?
The Lakers. Yeah, it might have been. I think it's funny. I think somebody said LeBron hit that three and then turned around and looked at the bench and the NBA did a hard reset. I was cracking up at that, bro. It kind of seems like it.
Then they whooped him. They beat him. They blew him out twice. You know how hard it is to beat the same team twice? Much less blow them out twice, in back-to-back games.
Yeah, especially
if you blow them out the first time, it's obviously sometimes going to be a letdown the second time.
That is true.
And the other team's going to have some fire, maybe. The Rockets didn't. They didn't have the chemistry. It was time for it was time for something to happen.
Yeah, but especially those post game comments from John Wall and Boogie, and then even James Harden kind of made it seem like, okay, they're really done here. Like, I thought that they were gonna have a chance to maybe try and finish out at least the first half of this season and try and make it work. But after everybody's comments, especially after that last game, it was done.
Especially not counting James Harden, because James Harden's comments was James Harden's comments, but especially DeMarcus Cousins' comments.
Because saying the disrespect started way before any interview. Yeah.
Right, yeah, because he doesn't look happy. He doesn't look happy in Houston at all.
Right.
I've been watching him closely the last two games. Obviously, they've been playing the Lakers, and he's been upset. He's been teed up twice. He's been ejected. He got ejected the first game. You think that has something to do with Markieff Morris? I don't think that has something to do with Markieff Morris. I think that has something to do with the chemistry of that team.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's kind of Keith, but also Boogie's reputation.
Yeah,
and also his frustration with that team. Yeah, I think it's a mix of everything.
Yeah.
I hate to see that it didn't work out, just because I feel like John Wall's playing like himself again. Boogie wanted to prove something, and I don't know. I feel like, me personally, I guess since I like John Wall and I like Boogie, I like the player that Christian Wood is turning into. Mm-hmm. I just thought maybe with James Harden, they would really do something, but I mean, I guess not.
But like John Wall said, everybody didn't buy in. Maybe with Victor Oladipo and whatever else they got from this trade, I'm sure you're gonna talk about it, because I don't know all the details. I just know VO. Maybe VO will buy in and they'll make a push for a playoff spot or something.
That's very true. I think they definitely can, especially if Victor Oladipo turns back into his all-star form. Oh yeah, for sure. They can make a playoff push for sure, especially with John Wall looking like himself. Speaking of which, shout out to John Wall and Kevin Durant for coming off of Achilles injuries and looking like their former selves. That's special.
Absolutely.
That's special. Okay, so of course, Brooklyn and Houston finally made the trade of trades that everybody was expecting. Maybe some people were expecting it now, some people were expecting it later.
I wasn't expecting it anymore. I wasn't expecting Brooklyn to, especially not Brooklyn. I was expecting him to get traded, but not to Brooklyn. Honestly, we'll talk about it later. Never mind. Go ahead.
I was expecting him to get traded too. I really thought it was going to be Philadelphia, but apparently,
that's what I was going to say.
Give Houston everything they needed.
That's what I was going to say. I don't think that they've made I don't think Houston made the right trade. But
you made the right decision, yeah.
Yeah, because I would have. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so through this trade, the Nets received James Harden, of course, from the Rockets, and they received a 2024 second-round pick from the Cavs. Okay. The Rockets received Victor Oladipo from the Pacers, Dante Exum from the Cavs, and then a player from the Nets. I really cannot pronounce his name, and I don't want to butcher it, so I'm not going to say it.
What's the initials?
RK.
RK?
Yeah, trust me. You haven't really heard of him. I've heard of him before, but I've only heard his name pronounced one time.
Okay.
I really can't pronounce it. Then the Rockets also received Brooklyn's 3 unprotected first-round picks for 2022, 2024, and 2026. And they received pick swaps in 2021, 2023, 2025, and 2027. And then they also got Cleveland's 2022 first round pick from the Bucks. Mm-hmm. So they got a lot of picks, which is good. But I don't know. We'll get into that later. The Pacers received Caris LeVert and a 2023 second round pick from the Rockets. That's not a bad pickup.
I like that for them.
I do too. That's not a bad pickup at all. And then the Cavs,
especially if Victor Oladipo still wanted to get traded, still wanted out of Indiana, and would just handle it like a pro. I like that to replace VO with Caris. I like that for the Pacers. Indiana Pacers. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then lastly, the Cavs received Jared Allen and Taurean Prince from the Nets.
Why does the Cavs need more big men?
Maybe Cleveland got a plan. They bring in the big men era back. I have no clue, to be honest with you. But it's also Cleveland, like, lose at this point. But also, you never know. They could be building some type of weird rim protecting type.
So you're gonna play Jared Allen and Andre Drummond together? What are they doing? Like, what's the plan?
I mean, hey, listen, why not? Why not play those two together?
Because, like, this ain't 1992.
I agree with that. It's not, but hey, it could win you a couple games. Like, you never know what could happen.
At this point, is the Cavs trying to win games? Well, I guess that's the reason you do it, because you're not trying to win games. I don't know. Then you got JaVale McGee. Let's go. Move on.
Yeah, JaVale McGee, Larry Nance. They got a lot of size down low. Don't know why anybody would want that much size, but I'm interested to see what they end up doing with it. I feel like the Pacers did good in getting Caris LeVert for Oladipo. Caris LeVert, I really thought that he was going to be a huge part of the Nets' success this season. Him and Dinwiddie, because they were on the come up. I know Dinwiddie is hurt. I think he has like a partial ACL tear, I think. I know he's hurt, but I think he'll be back before the season because he doesn't need surgery on it. So seeing Caris LeVert these last 5 games, and seeing what he's been able to do, I was like, man, this kid is going to be very special for this team. And then to see that they had to give him up for James Harden, I was like,
I mean, on the surface, Caris LeVert for James Harden, like, you're trying to win now, so I guess that in theory brings you closer to a championship than having Caris LeVert, but.
True, but it takes away some of your depth.
We'll talk about that.
So I don't really know, but I do think it's good for the Pacers to get Caris LeVert because, again, you got Sabonis who's playing at a high level. TJ Warren is unfortunately out for you. Oladipo was kind of getting back to himself, but I mean, he didn't want to be there, but at least he kind of went out in a respectful way. So having Caris LeVert alongside of Sabonis, to me, will continue to help the Pacers. It won't hurt them at all.
I think I like this trade for the Pacers more than anybody else, controversial as that may sound, considering Brooklyn just got James Harden. But I'll tell you why. Because on the Rockets' perspective, I don't think that they got the best deal that they could have gotten. Because, like, if Philly I said a long time ago that I would call Philadelphia and try to get Ben Simmons. If they were willing to give you Ben Simmons and, like, Max and, like, Matisse Thybulle or whatever else and some picks or whatever for James Harden, I feel like that would have been better than Victor Oladipo. No disrespect to Victor Oladipo, because I like Victor Oladipo. But from that perspective, from the Rockets' perspective, they got a good deal, but I think they could have had slam dunk of a deal. From the Nets' perspective, let's talk about it, because I'm not in the camp I'm not in the camp that Kyrie, KD, and KD, James Harden, and Kyrie maybe it's gonna just bring them immediate success. First of all, the fact that I had to say Kyrie maybe, because do you think? First of all, you got, like you said, the depth isn't there. There are far more deeper teams in this league than the Brooklyn Nets are right now. Look at their bench. Who's the best player coming off the bench? Landry Shamet, Jeff Green,
probably Shamet.
Yeah, right, Landry Shamet. Is that a 6-man type player? I don't think so. Karis LeVert would have been. If they had Dinwiddie healthy, he would have been starting, and Karis LeVert probably would have been the 6th man of the year. You got to think about the fact also that Brooklyn's bad on defense. They were bad on defense before this trade. They just got worse because they just traded their best defensive anchor down there in Jared Allen. So they're going to get worse on defense. They're not going to be able to stop anybody. They're just going to have to try to outscore people, which they can, but there's only one ball. What are they going to do? I don't know, man. Then Kyrie's in his own little world. We already know that. I've already seen James Harden be stopped many a times in the playoffs. Kevin Durant, as good as he looks, is still coming off an injury. I don't know if they're going to get out of the East. Controversial as that may sound, I'm not convinced yet. I got to see it. They got to convince me.
I agree with you. Good point you brought up about the Rockets, because I kind of feel the same. I don't think the Rockets got the best that they could have gotten out of this trade. I really don't. Right. If I'm them, I want another star like Ben Simmons.
It reminds me of when the Spurs traded Kawhi Leonard for DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl. DeMar DeRozan is a good player.
That's a good one.
DeMar DeRozan is a good player, but he's not the best they could have gotten for Kawhi Leonard. That's what it reminds me of.
I didn't even think about that. That's a very good point. I mean, I do like that they got all the picks. I see where they can head with these picks. I don't know, maybe John Wall and Boogie doesn't work out, and they decide, okay, we just need to blow it up, and we need to, reload and start over. I mean, they could take these picks and turn it into what the Celtics were able to do with all their picks and getting a Jaylen Brown and getting a Jason Tatum, things like that. They could do that with some of these picks. But that's not always a guarantee that you'll get players like that if you do decide to completely restart.
Right.
And I also felt even though the reason why they've made the playoffs these last few years has definitely been James Harden, I just felt like the way that city of Houston is set up and how much they love superstars, I just felt like they could have gotten another superstar to come here through this trade and could have said, you know what, the city will welcome you with open arms, and this will 100% be your city if you come here. But they didn't really do that. I mean, it could be John Walls though. That's not an issue. But I just really felt like they needed to get Ben Simmons or Kyrie out of the situation.
Yeah, that's another thing. The Nets, I feel like the reason the Nets went ahead and did this trade is because they don't know what's happening with Kyrie. Kyrie leaves a lot of uncertainty. So why not go ahead and just move? Maybe the Rockets didn't even want Kyrie. I don't know. At this point, would you want Kyrie?
I mean, since you have,
then you already got John Wall. You can't unless Kyrie is going to a third team. I don't think the Rockets will have much success with a Kyrie John Wall backcourt, especially defensively.
I mean, that is kind of true, but I don't know. I just felt like they needed something bigger out of the situation. I just feel like they needed another star out of this situation. That's just me though.
Yeah.
Just because I mean I believe in Boogie and John Wall. Don't get it twisted. I believe in those two. But for a trade of this magnitude, especially since if you send James Harden to Brooklyn, which I mean they did, you're pretty much, they were already a contender before, but you're making them that much more of a contender. Where does that put you as a franchise? You see what I'm saying?
It pretty much puts you in limbo. It pretty much puts you in that purgatory, in the not good enough to compete, but not bad enough to get a lottery pick.
That's what I'm saying. Don't you still want to be somewhat of a contender? Even making the
I
trade
think
like
I
this,
think
even sending James Harden.
I think this trade did that. But I think if like I said, I think it puts him in that spot that nobody really wants to be in.
That's true.
I don't
And
think
again,
I don't think they're tanking with this trade. I'm not trying to say Victor Oladipo's
no.
trash.
No. I'm not saying that either. It sounds like I'm disrespecting Victor Oladipo, and I'm not. I'm a Pacer fan. I love Oladipo.
Right.
He just hasn't gotten back to his all-star form yet, and I think he can get there. I really do. So it's not bad having Oladipo.
It's like when Ben
felt like they should have got more.
When
of a
Ben
guarantee.
Simmons is the other option, that's like it's a difference. That's what makes a difference.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. It's just, but hey, listen, Houston made their choice. They got Oladipo. Yeah. They got Boogie. They got John Wall now. I do want to see what they can do.
This is what they got.
And even they're gonna keep these three. But even with these picks, I mean, if they do try to trade for another star, I mean, they do have some picks that they can give up to trade for somebody. So there's a lot that they can do with it. Do you feel like the Rockets rushed this because of how bad things got behind the scenes?
I do. I think the Rockets rushed it. I absolutely think the Rockets rushed it because after these comments, there was no way James Harden. Well, I don't think the Rockets rushed it because of the circumstances. Because after these comments from Boogie and James Harden, there was no way James Harden was going to go out and play for the Rockets again. It was going to be an Anthony Davis situation where he's sitting out and just waiting. Although it never got this bad with New Orleans.
Right. Okay, that's a good point.
It never got this bad with New Orleans publicly.
That's what I was about to say. At least it wasn't out in the open like that. If it didn't get that bad. Okay, that's a fair point. You right on that. I do think they kind of rushed it. I think it really did get that bad. Hold on, go ahead.
I think they rushed it, but they had a reason to rush it. That's basically what I'm saying.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they had a reason to rush it.
I definitely think they rushed it. I think with the whole incident they had to start the season with him, not being a part of the team, to go party with Lil Baby, and then him having to quarantine and pass like 6 COVID tests before he could come back. Then he had the incident with the rookie where he threw the ball at him or threw the ball near him, and they had that issue. And then them losing and not winning that much, and then the comments last night, I felt like it was coming. But I did think that Houston was gonna hold out a little longer just so they can try and get someone of Ben Simmons' magnitude. That's what I really thought.
The fact that he said we're just not good enough, and the reason they're just not good enough is because of him, is just kind of. Would you want him? I wouldn't want. Would you want him on your team, personally?
If I've got a team that I'm trying to get everybody to buy in,
then let's ask this.
And I kind of see.
Let's ask this way. How many players are you counting to take first before you get to James Harden?
I mean, it depends on who's available, but I mean, a player of James Harden's magnitude and how good he is, there's not a whole lot of people you could say you would take over him. It's not that many, but
the
way things ended and the way things have been going with him this season and his attitude towards the Rockets this year, it makes you do a double take kind of. It makes you think before you fully say yes to taking him.
Okay, yeah, because I'm thinking at least 8, because I'm going by not just basketball talent, well, not just scoring. I'm going by everything, like everything that comes on the basketball court. You should watch James Harden play. If he's not involved in the game, if he's not involved in the play, if he doesn't have the ball, he's just standing there on offense. He's gotten better on defense, but he's still not going to shift the needle on defense for anybody, really. Especially this Nets team that's already bad on defense. They just got worse. I don't know. And then the attitude stuff. He wants his way. He doesn't care about nobody but himself, it feels like. And it's just like, I wouldn't want him nowhere near the Lakers. But I mean, his talent, you can't deny that he can score the basketball. No matter how he does it, no matter if you like it or not. I know I don't, but he can score the basketball. He scores a lot of points.
Exactly. But you mentioned him, kind of what he did kind of when he had Russell Westbrook and when he had Chris Paul, how if he didn't have the ball in his hands, he was kind of just sitting there in the corner.
And that's gonna be double with. Okay, go ahead.
No, that's what I was pretty much gonna bring up. Something like that would have to change with him going to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he already knows that. I think he kind of felt that way with this team because he didn't like it and he already knew he wanted out. And so maybe something like that will change with the Nets because, to be honest, that's something they would need. They would need him to kind of go back to his six-man self that he was in OKC just a little bit.
Yeah, that James Harden was likable.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know.
That James Harden moved well without the ball too.
Yeah.
But if there's anybody I think that can take a back seat out of the three, out of KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, I think it is James Harden just because he kind of started out his career that way.
Yeah.
Started out his career as a six-man, coming off the bench, being a great catch-and-shoot player, things like that.
But think about what's happened with him the last five or so years. People are saying he's the greatest scorer of all time. Whether you agree with that or not, people are saying it. So I don't think that he'll go back to that mindset after being caught the greatest scorer of all time.
I can see that, but if he really wants to win something, he don't have a choice.
James Harden don't. Okay, maybe we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You're right. We'll see. I'm saying my opinion personally. If he really wants to win, which it seems like he does, because this is why he went to Brooklyn. That's why he gave up everything in Houston to go to Brooklyn. If he really wants to, I think he has to take that back seat. Because from what I've seen from Brooklyn through these first few games, as you've seen when they had close games and you had KD and Kyrie on the floor, Kyrie is taking that shot first.
Yeah, who's going to take that shot?
It's clearly Kyrie. He's the two close games they had where they missed game winners. Kyrie is taking the first shot. So it seems like Kyrie is not gonna take that backseat whatsoever.
If they ask him to, he'll just go home probably.
Exactly. So I don't think Kyrie's gonna take that backseat. KD's definitely the best player on that team. So you can't ask the best player to take a backseat. So I feel like James Harden is the only option to take that backseat, and he don't really have a choice.
And he won't be happy. And he won't be happy in Brooklyn either. And it's going to be a whole nother cycle.
To be honest, it might be. It might be just because the people that he had with him in Houston, it all ended terribly. He wanted Dwight Howard there. That didn't end well. He wanted Russell Westbrook there. That didn't end well. He wanted CP3 there. That didn't end well. So, I mean, you could be right.
And he wanted to be in Brooklyn. How is that going to end? I don't know how it's going to end. I'm just joking. But another thing, do you think that this changes anything from Kyrie's perspective? You think it's going to make him love basketball more or want to play basketball more? Because right now it seems like he don't want to play at all. Well, not at all, but he doesn't want to commit to being an NBA player and doing what he used to do back in the past, like being fully committed to the NBA.
I'm not sure. Maybe they know something, and that's why, like you said earlier, that's why they got James Harden, because he may be taking a back seat, and doing other things with social justice reform. Or maybe they got James Harden to show Kyrie, like, listen, we got another star. If you don't want to be here, that's fine. We'll make it work with KD and Harden if you don't want to be here.
All right.
And maybe that might make Kyrie want to come back and want to try and make it work, having two superstars beside him now instead of just one.
This is contradictory. This contradicts a lot of things because, like, didn't Kyrie leave LeBron because he wanted his own team?
Yeah, but he saw how that worked out with the Celtics.
Did Kevin Durant leave the Warriors because he didn't feel like he earned his championships or something like that? Because he had a super team around him?
Well, yeah, and also he didn't feel like he was treated as the best player on that team, I think, with the people who were around him.
Okay, that makes sense.
Draymond called him a B word.
That makes sense.
And said, we didn't need you.
That makes sense.
Felt disrespected by certain people behind the scenes. So he was like, okay, that's cool. People don't take my ring seriously. And this franchise some people in this franchise is disrespecting me, even though I feel like I'm the best player here.
Okay, the first thing you said, people don't take my ring seriously. If he wins with Kyrie, Kyrie and then James Harden, you think people gonna take his ring seriously?
To be honest, probably not. If it looks as easy as it was in Golden State,
if it looks easy, that's what I'm saying.
No, nobody takes anything seriously that looks easy. I mean, people try to say discredit the Lakers ring because they say that this looked easy in the bubble. So, I mean, I guess people just don't take things seriously that look easy. To me, for Kevin Durant, it just doesn't help that he continues to win or continues to make the playoffs with superstars around him, with more than one.
Yeah, talk about it.
That's my only thing. It's just that, to me, I don't know how that helps his legacy much. But I mean, clearly he doesn't mind it. But also, we're speculating that Kyrie is still going to be here because a lot of sources said that KD really wanted James Harden to be here. I feel like if he felt like they didn't need James Harden, he wouldn't have pushed so hard for it. But maybe he feels like they need James Harden because Kyrie may not be here.
I'm surprised
because there was also some sources yesterday that said that Kyrie has recently been distant from Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Kyrie ultimately would just retire, just announce his retirement out of nowhere because I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that in the next couple months or whatever.
I mean, he could.
I'm not saying I'm expecting it to happen, but I'm just saying, like, if it just happened one day that you got the notification that Kyrie's retiring, I wouldn't be shocked.
Right. Well, it's funny that you bring that up because I actually got a take for Kyrie's situation, kind of.
All right, talk about it.
I think we get a few viewers who watch WNBA. We don't have a whole lot that do, but there's a WNBA player who kind of had the same situation going on as Kyrie, and that's Maya Moore. Maya Moore has taken off the last 2 WNBA seasons so that she can do some things with social justice reform. So for the last 2 years, Maya Moore has been helping a guy named Jonathan Irons get out of prison. She met him, I think, in 2017. Heard his story, felt like he was wrongfully convicted. He was serving like a 50-year sentence, and she decided that she was going to take some time off to help get him free. Now, Maya Moore is like a top 3 WNBA player all time.
I'm fully aware.
She's a WNBA superstar. It's like Kyrie or KD or LeBron or Anthony Davis or James. It's like one of those type of players deciding that they're going to take 2 years off. To help fight social justice reform.
It's like if Michael Jordan took 94, 95 off to do that type of stuff, but he went to go play baseball.
Right, instead of playing baseball. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah. I mean, she's a 4-time WNBA champion. She's had a Finals MVP under her belt. She's got an MVP under her belt. She's been in all type of WNBA first teams. Like she's a top 3 WNBA player of all time when she retires. She decided, like, in the middle of her prime to take off and go help somebody who was wrongfully convicted to get out of prison. So she decided to step away, announced it to the WNBA. The organization, her teammates, her coaches respected it. And while she was taking this time off to help Jonathan Irons, she kept in contact with her teammates, her coaches, the WNBA kept in contact with Adam Silver to let them know, like, this is what she was doing while she was stepping away and how it was going. Not that she's just stepping away just to step away, because she's not retired yet.
Right.
Because, again, she doesn't want to retire. She wants to come back. She just feels like she needs to do this while she can and while she has the platform. Mm-hmm. She decided to take her time away. Been doing that the last 2 years. And in July of 2020, he was released. Jonathan Irons was released from prison. Maya Moore helped to get his sentence overturned. So the thing that she had been working on the last 2 years paid off. She got Jonathan Irons out of prison. And I think actually her and Jonathan Irons are about to get married also.
Wow, that's cool.
So she decided to take some time off. It took 2 years. She took her time off to fight social justice reform. It worked out. And now she could possibly be coming back for this new season. And so to me, her situation is kind of like Kyrie's. If Kyrie needs to take the time for him to help fight social justice, then that's fine. I just think he just needs to let people know instead of just disappearing. I think that's what it is.
I agree with that, but I think the difference with Kyrie is that he wouldn't feel like he would need to let people know his situation and do anything.
That is kind of true, but see, that needs to change because I mean, I don't know if you heard Steve Nash's comments, but Steve Nash clearly doesn't know what's going on with Kyrie.
Right, and we don't even know if that's why Kyrie's doing all this.
We don't fully, but he was on that Zoom call. Remember, they had the screenshots that came out for him being on that Zoom call, and I think it was for the Manhattan District Attorney candidate Zoom call, and it was him. I think a couple other celebrities on there, and
when was this?
I mean, this had to be 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was recent. It was like a day after that video surfaced of him celebrating his sister's birthday, and people were complaining because the Nets were playing that day, and while they were playing, he was on the Zoom call, and I know he was on the Zoom call because again, he's doing this for social justice purposes. So, I do think that ultimately it takes a lot out of him for him to try and play basketball and try to do the social justice things that he's trying to do.
And I want to make it clear that Kyrie, he's not obligated to let anybody know anything.
No, that's true. Of course.
Yeah, but I mean, we obviously would like to know what's going on with him because, like, as a basketball fans, we care about what Kyrie's going through or whatever, if he's going through something or what he's doing. Like, but he's not obligated to say nothing. He's a grown man, so.
Well,
they gonna get on TV and talk about him and try to dog him or whatever, but he's not obligated to do anything.
No. I'm not saying he has to let us know. I'm just saying professionally, he should let his team.
Yeah, because the Brooklyn Nets are paying him $35 million.
That's what I'm saying. They need to know.
Right.
Exactly. They need to know that. Like, if he needs to step away so he can do this, there's nothing wrong with that. He's not the only one to do it. Again, I just talked about Maya Moore doing it, but I talked about how she approached it so that way it made things easier on everybody else.
Right.
Because right now, I can tell with Steve Nash, it's hard on him because he don't know what's going on because Kyrie doesn't talk to him. Just like Kyrie's last game that he was at, he just decided he wanted to sit out and Steve Nash didn't know about it. That's what I mean. Like, it doesn't matter if we know or not. He don't have to tell us. It's just his team, the team that he plays for, and his teammates deserve to know, is what I'm saying. But also, I'm saying if he would just let them know, they would support him. I know they would. I mean, the NBA is supporting social justice right now. They will support him if he needed to step away for those type of purposes. I just think he needs to let somebody know that that's what he needs, and that's it.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be mad at him for it at all. Now Brooklyn has James Harden, so if he does need to step away, they still have another superstar.
Because I
just think he needs to let people know. That's it.
I think people are mad because they don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But then again, people are going to be mad when they find out too, because like we got that other. There's two ends of this spectrum. You can never please everybody. There's a far left on this, and there's a far right on this. This is why the NBA's ratings are down. That's that group, and there's a group that like us that encourages that type of stuff, that type of thing.
That is very true. But this is my thing. As long as he's got the support from his teammates, his coaching staff, of course his fans are gonna support him. His family's gonna support him, and then I'm pretty sure the commissioner will support him also. That's really all that matters, man. Mm-hmm. All the other stuff is just noise.
Yep.
It's just noise. As long as you got the ones that you need supporting you, then that's fine. I'll support him if that's what he wants to do. That's cool.
Absolutely.
To me, there's nothing wrong with that, especially since we've seen it work through Maya Moore.
Right.
It took 2 years. It took 2 years of her working really hard to help fight it. Ultimately, she was able to get somebody out of prison who was wrongfully convicted, which is good. And I feel like Kyrie would do something like that also.
You know, it's just... Kyrie's. I feel like Kyrie ultimately is a good dude.
Yeah,
obviously
course.
Because of the stuff that we're talking about right now. But it's just like the way that he comes across, the way that he speaks, the way that he comes across. It just sounds so. It sounds so the opposite of what me and you think Kyrie is at the surface.
I see what you mean. But yeah, no, I mean, Kyrie's done a lot even in the last year. Like one of the biggest things he did was when, of course, because of the pandemic, when the WNBA and the NBA seasons were restarting and they had to restart in the bubble, I remember that the WNBA was telling some of their players that if they opted out, that they weren't going to pay them.
Mm-hmm. And
so Kyrie
he went and
donated $1.5 million.
Yeah.
So that some of those athletes could get paid, which I thought was really good.
Yeah.
He did that this year. He donated, I think it was like $300,000 to different charities for food,
right?
Because of COVID. And I think he also paid some HBCU students tuition off.
Yeah.
For this year because of COVID. So he did a lot of good this year.
And even with that stuff, like none of that, we don't know that because Kyrie told us.
No, we don't.
So
we
like
know that because other people told us.
So like that's what I'm saying. Like who knows what Kyrie's thinking? Like nobody knows what Kyrie's gonna do. Nobody knows what Kyrie's thinking. So it's just we'll see. I hope he comes back and he's Kyrie again, and they can get some camaraderie with that team because I want to see them in the finals. Because people think, the people think we're supposed to be scared of them. I'm not scared of them. Bring it on, bro. Like, come on. Like, when my team is formidable, bring on all the competition. I wish the KD Warriors were still around, so we could play them too. KD could play for two teams. All I care.
You're really crazy. Yeah, I really don't know. Okay, so tell me right now. Do you think Kyrie will come back?
Yeah,
or do you think Kyrie will take time off?
I don't think Kyrie's going anywhere. I think he can do both. I think because he's been doing both. I just think that he's taking time off sometimes because basketball is not his number one priority. And I don't think necessarily when he's taking time off of basketball is for social justice stuff. Because I think he can do that while playing basketball. I just think he's taking time off of basketball because sometimes he gets tired of it, and he wants to treat it to where he could just take time off, kind of like Kawhi, but he's not hurt.
Okay, that's not a bad point. You're right. To be honest, go ahead.
And another player that I could see doing something like you're talking about with Kyrie, Jaylen Brown.
Okay.
I don't know if Jaylen Brown take time off or whatever to do it, but I think that Jaylen Brown is that type of person that'll like go out of his way to try to help somebody.
Yep. I agree with that, but see, nobody's gonna treat it the way they treat Kyrie because Jaylen Brown's not a superstar.
Because Jaylen Brown's not a superstar yet. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I think he will be.
But I don't think people are gonna treat it the same way exactly.
Like when Donovan Mitchell did what he did for his community. Then he donated some money for his community.
Larry Nance did that for Cleveland. And during this pandemic, Kevin Love also did. Like, there's a bunch of players that have done it. It's just that if you're not in that scope of like a Kyrie or a KD or a LeBron, it kind of goes unnoticed sometimes.
It goes unnoticed sometimes by the mainstream. Because like on social media, it's all over the place. Like people praising them or whatever. But when you turn on the TV, you won't see it. You just see Kyrie's not with the, and then when you turn on the TV, you don't see the Kyrie stuff with the social justice stuff. You just see that he's not there. Stephen A. Smith saying he needs to retire,
right,
and stuff like that. It's all negative. Like when they talk about Kyrie on TV, it's all negative.
That is true. That is very true. But that's also because his relationship with the media is not the best either. So that's the reason why you see it the way it is. Like him calling them pawns earlier in the year wasn't that great.
And also, like I said, that goes back to the point of Kyrie not being like the way Kyrie comes across. He doesn't come across as the most likable dude. He comes across like he knows everything. Like when he talks, when he speaks, he comes across like he knows everything. Like he's a know-it-all. And he feel like he's better than people. It
can sometimes, yeah, I agree. It can. But I don't know. It's weird. I think if he's gonna take time off, go ahead and take time off. But I just think he needs to let the people around him know. I don't care if I know it. It's irrelevant. I mean, who am I? He don't have to tell us or the fans.
Right. Exactly.
We don't matter. But I just think his team, his organization need to know, because he is a professional basketball player, and that's the professional thing to do, is to let them know like when you need the time off. Again, Maya Moore did it, and there was no issue. The WNBA backed her. All her teammates and her organization backed her. As a matter of fact, when she got Jonathan Irons out in July, they all tweeted about it. They tweeted about it. They put it on their Instagram. They announced it. They announced that all the 2 years that she had been working and taking off a basketball paid off finally, and they talked about it. They would do the same thing for Kyrie if he decides to do that. I just think he needs to go ahead and say it is all. Now, if he doesn't, that's fine, because he's had a hot start to this year. I mean, he's averaging 27 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 50% from the field and 42% from three, which is crazy. He's having a really hot start to the year. So I think that if he does come back, it'd be really good for Brooklyn. But if he continues to do things like this throughout the year and just take time off, I know he's taking time off for good things. Like, I know he's not taking time off just to go chill. He's doing it for the right reasons. He's doing it for certain reasons. But to me, if he continues to do it this way and decide not to say anything to the people who need to know, it'll hurt them down the road. It'll hurt their team chemistry. It'll hurt how many people, how teammates look at him. It'll hurt how the coaches look at him. Like, you can't get the camaraderie you need if you're not there. Because in order for this team to have a great flow offensively,
just ask the Los Angeles Clippers last year, and wasn't that top excuse? Pretty much,
but that's what I mean. Like, if you're not there, they can't. It's just like with Westbrook and Harden. Remember how Westbrook had the complaint that they were trying to watch game film and Harden was late, and Russ told D'Antoni to go ahead and play the film, but D'Antoni said, no, there's no point, because if I play it now, I have to run it again when Harden gets here, so we're just going to wait. Things like that ruins chemistry between people and between teammates.
And you think that's going to change with Brooklyn? Something, I don't know, man. Some players aren't winning players, and I don't look at James Harden as a winning player. Sorry.
I mean, yeah, because I can see what you mean by that. I mean, he has had to go up against some pretty elite teams. I mean, especially in the Warriors area. In the Warriors era, it was kind of hard. It was hard to get around that team.
Nobody was going to get around that team.
So even though his Rockets team came the closest out of anybody. So that I can kind of forgive him for, because I mean, they were the greatest team ever assembled. But I really think he knows the sacrifices that he has to make to be here. So I think James Harden is really willing to buy in. I think he is. But even if you're willing to buy in, that don't mean it'll work. That's not what I'm saying. I do think he's willing to change a lot, though, for it to work out in Brooklyn.
Yeah, he definitely probably willing to buy in. Like, buying in and then working.
That's what I'm saying. Things. So I think he's willing to buy in. I do think Kyrie just needs to let them know. We don't need to know. Just let your teammates and your coaching staff and your organization know what it is you need.
Yeah, because the whole distance with Kevin Durant thing and Steve Nash not knowing nothing, that's a problem.
I don't understand why he's distant with KD, though. That's what I don't get.
But I thought they was good friends. I thought they had this plan together like a long time for them to go play.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In New York. I don't know what it is. Maybe he wanted to go one route with something like, maybe after the thing with the Capitol, maybe Kyrie wanted to like have the team sit out or something, and KD didn't want that.
Wow, maybe that is what it was. Maybe you're right. Maybe that is what it was.
Because I know remember there were some games that were played that day. They weren't sure if players were going to play or not. If certain teams were going to play or not. Right. Teams ultimately decided to play. Every team that played that day kneeled before, took a knee before the start of the game, and all locked arms and things like that. Maybe Kyrie, because remember, Kyrie on those Zoom calls in the summer said that he didn't think that they should be playing because of what was going on. So maybe because of what just happened at the Capitol, maybe he felt like, okay, maybe we should sit out and kind of boycott and protest a little bit And maybe the rest of the Nets said no. Like maybe KD was like, no, that's not a good idea. Maybe that's what happened. That's really the only thing I could think of, because playing wise, it doesn't seem like they have any issues on the court. I feel like if Kyrie is distant from KD right now, it would have to be something that happened off the court. I feel like. I could be wrong though. Yeah. You never really know with Kyrie.
That's my whole point. That we could have avoided everything we said for the last 20 minutes and just said you never really know with Kyrie, and pretty much said the same thing.
But I did have to get out there that he's done a lot of good, and what you can tell he's kind of leaning towards in life, and that there's nothing wrong with what he's leaning towards whatsoever. It's helping players like Jaylen Brown.
You're right.
Because even though maybe him and Jaylen Brown weren't the coolest in Boston, maybe Jaylen Brown looks up to what Kyrie does off the court, and he wants to kind of do that same thing. You see what I'm saying? So it's good for Kyrie to do what he's doing and is speaking up for what he believes in, and showing people that when you have a platform that you should try and help as many people as you can and do the right thing with your platform. Because you see a lot of young players in the NBA now doing it, again, like Jaylen Brown. I just think that his Brooklyn Nets team is clearly trying to make themselves a contender, and they're clearly trying to win something, especially Kevin Durant. So I just don't think it's fair to them to not know what in the world is going on at all. Like, if you decide that you want to take time off and do the social justice thing, just tell them, bro.
It's like he got one foot in, one
That's
foot
what
out.
I'm saying.
Maybe this James Harden trade changes that, but
we'll see. So how about this? Let's do the scenario. What if Kyrie does decide to step away? How do you think KD and James Harden will work out?
I actually think it might work out a little bit better than with, not saying that Kyrie's going to make them worse, but like with Kyrie, that's three ball handlers that want the ball, that want shots. With just KD and James Harden, that's just two. And the chemistry might work a little bit better. Maybe if you can get Kyrie's, I don't know how that would work if Kyrie's money would be able to like trade and sign players from that to get more depth, because they definitely need more depth. At this point, they have 3 max contract players, and if it doesn't work this season, you basically going into the next season with just like the minimum contracts that you can sign players with. The opportunity for depth is for the Brooklyn Nets right now. It's very limited. But they got. I think they have like 3 open spots that they can sign people with. I don't know who's out there, who's available that would move the needle for that team. But unless they make more trades, I don't know. Like I said, if Kyrie does step away, that's just 2 people that want shots that nobody would have to take the back seat, basically. With Kyrie, somebody would have to take a little bit of a sacrifice.
Exactly. So do you think, at least for this first season, do you think it would be better if Kyrie did step away, and then you just had kind of a Kevin Durant and James Harden show just to start, and then Kyrie came back next year?
If Kyrie's not fully committed, absolutely yes. But if Kyrie's going to fully commit, then no, because you can't be worse with Kyrie. With Kyrie playing like you can't be worse. It's just going to be different. Like they're just all 3 going to have to modify their games. I think they're going to have to modify their games regardless, because I don't think that James Harden is going to be able to just dribble 22 seconds as the clock and either pass or shoot like he usually does. So because that's not gonna leave Kevin Durant happy. That's not gonna leave Kyrie happy. And the same with Kyrie, he can't just dribble around the court for 20 seconds and then just decide what he's gonna do then.
That's a good point. That's a fair point. I agree with that. Hard to disagree with that. I don't know.
What you think? You think it'll? How you think? How you think it'll work?
If Kyrie does step away, and it is just Kevin Durant and James Harden, I don't think it'll be a bad thing. It'll be just like what it was when it was just Kevin Durant and Kyrie. I think it'll be the same thing. I mean, no matter what, Kevin Durant's the best player, so he's gonna get his. But I think James Harden would. I mean, I think he would just take up where Kyrie left off. I mean, Kyrie was averaging 27. Right now, James Harden averaging 24. I think James Harden will move up and start averaging 27 again. With no Kyrie there, and KD would continue to average what he's averaging, which is I think like 28 or something like that. And offensively, they would be exactly what they are even right now. It would just where they would still lack, whether they have Kyrie or not, would be defensively. I mean, you want Kyrie with you this year just because ultimately you're still gonna have that big three, whether it's this year or next year. You're still gonna want Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden together. So you would rather try and have this year to figure it out than try and figure it out next year.
Yeah. The fact that people think it's curtains for the rest of the league, though, it's just you just don't. I'm not gonna say you don't watch basketball, but it's just putting three stars together just don't work all the time. They gotta fit. You gotta have the complementary pieces around them, and I don't think that Brooklyn has that right now. But we'll see. I think they have enough. I think this talent has enough to get out of the Eastern Conference, at least to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I just don't. Right now, I don't see them beating the Lakers, who has woken up. Finally.
That is true. I mean, there's a lot of people that really don't have them as favorites over the Lakers. People who are thinking kind of a little more logical. But it's hard to say about the West. But if there's anybody that can beat them that can beat the Nets in the East, who do you think it could be?
Milwaukee or Boston. Maybe Philadelphia. If they're healthy.
I think I agree with that.
I think I'll put Philadelphia over Boston. If they're healthy, Philadelphia's one of the deepest teams.
Oh yeah, for sure. They've shown that. They've shown that through these first 11 or 12 games. I agree.
And then think about the interior of the Nets. Who's going to be stopping?
I think Jeff Green has got to play some fives. I don't know why you laughing. I'm for real.
That's why
I'm being serious. I think Jeff Green is going to have to be like their center. I'm so serious.
They got DeAndre Jordan, but like
that's what I was about to say. He can't play the whole game. I mean, and now he was a DNP like 2 nights ago. Now he's gonna end up being back in that lineup because they don't really have a choice.
Right, he wasn't playing. He wasn't playing at all, and now he's gonna have to start again because you traded your best option.
That's what I'm saying. And so your backup is probably gonna have to be Jeff Green coming off the bench. I don't even know if Jeff Green has ever even played the five.
Why did they even need to trade you?
Because that's.
If he wasn't going to Houston, why did they even? Okay.
I don't know, but I will tell you one thing that I think everybody is sleeping on, including us, is Spencer Dinwiddie is still on the team. Yeah, he is still on the team, but this is the issue. He, to me, was going to be that third option over Karis LeVert. Now that they got James Harden, he's like the fourth option now, and I can tell Spencer Dinwiddie does not want to be that person.
Yeah, my perspective on that is that's like us worrying about Klay Thompson coming back. Like he's not. I don't think he's coming back this season.
It's not a full tear though; it's a partial. That's the reason why I said he doesn't have to have surgery on it, so he will be back. I just think it'll be like in the playoffs.
No, but and then you just drop him into the play. I just don't think it works like that. You don't think you just can be dropped into the playoffs on a team that you don't have any chemistry with because it's not the same team you was playing with before. And just run through the playoffs like that. But hey, Kevin Durant is an all-world talent. We'll see what he can do.
That's true. This is what I'm hoping for Brooklyn. For Brooklyn, I think they should hope that Kyrie comes back because again, they're trying to sell this thing as a big three, regardless. So if he's not there, then that doesn't really help them out a whole lot. And again, that doesn't help their chemistry going into the playoffs. Because like, what if Kyrie takes some time off for the regular season and tries to come back in the playoffs? Well, that would mess up the chemistry between Kevin Durant, James Harden, and the other guys that they built without Kyrie. So I think their success this season all depends on if Kyrie is bought in or not, or if he wants to be here or not. And if like he's actually focused on basketball. That's just my opinion though. Because again, there's nothing wrong with not being focused on basketball. Like some things in life are bigger than basketball, and I respect that wholeheartedly. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with Kyrie not being super focused on basketball. I just think that if he has to step away, he just needs to say something. He needs to let them know so that way that this team can move forward without him for right now, or even for the rest of this season.
Yeah, the unknown
That's
is the
what
worst
I'm saying.
part.
Because I feel like maybe it's just me, but in these Steve Nash interviews, it seems like it really bothers him that he doesn't know. Like this is his first year. First of all, I feel bad for Steve Nash because he's dealing with a lot in his first year as a head coach. First year as a head coach in his first year in Brooklyn, and I know it seems like it's probably chaotic.
Right. I don't know how he's gonna manage. I don't know.
I think he's getting a lot of help from D'Antoni because D'Antoni has had. I mean, D'Antoni's dealt with egos before. He's dealt with star players. He's done this a long time.
And they pretty much let James Harden do what he wanted.
Yeah, that is kind of true.
It didn't work out too well.
But I mean, maybe he learned his lesson from what happened previously in Houston.
I'm glad you be so optimistic about these people learning lessons and stuff. One of us has to be.
The benefit of the doubt until they prove me wrong. How about that?
Yeah, one of us.
That's what I try to be optimistic for these players and coaches, and then if they prove me wrong, then they prove me wrong. You know.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in Brooklyn, though. At the end of the day, we'll see what happens with them. They definitely can be one of the most lethal offensive teams we ever seen. That's for sure. But although my Lakers are too shabby now.
Oh yeah, of course.
They
have actually. We're not gonna talk about them. It's not an episode about that type of basketball. It's an episode about where the Brooklyn Nets are going and where do you see the Pacers going?
First of all, the Pacers are very sneaky right now, and I kind of like them flying under the radar as they continue to get some sneaky wins. I just think they're gonna make the playoffs. I want to see how Karis LeVert and Sabonis play alongside each other because we got to see how that works out. And I just think the Pacers they're in a good spot. They're coming up. I don't know if this year is really their year to like make a bunch of noise in the playoffs, but they're gonna be there for sure. Sabonis is clearly committed to Indiana. I think Karis LeVert is committed to having kind of his own team now, especially with the way he was playing in Brooklyn kind of the last 2 years. So I'm excited for the Pacers. I'm excited as a Pacers fan. So
you remember that year in round one where I think it was 2018 where they took LeBron and the Cavs to 7 games? I think they can do that to one of those top teams in the East in the first round.
If teams continue to sleep on them, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it could be similar.
I mean, the Pacers are sitting at 7-4 right now in the East.
Depending on what matchup they get, because if they get a top four matchup, I think they can win the first. They can beat their first round opponent. I think this Pacers team right now, the way they're constructed, if they can stay healthy, they'll beat the Miami Heat. If they had some bonus last year, I'm not gonna say that. I ain't gonna say that. I think they'll be closer to beating the Miami Heat than they were. I ain't gonna say they would have beat the Miami Heat went to the finals. I ain't gonna say they just would have beat the Miami Heat, but they would have put up more of a lot more.
Okay, I respect that.
Because Sabonis would have been a lot for Bam to deal with.
True, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
Like AD was.
This is my only thing about the Heat. I just really don't want to sleep on them. Want me to tell you why? Because everybody slept on them last year. Like, who had them making it to the finals? Nobody had them making it to the finals unless you were a Heat fan. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, I don't even think they did. They might have said it, but
they ain't even. That's what I'm saying. Like, nobody really had them making it. And to me, it'd be stupid. Go ahead.
Only person that believes is probably Jimmy
exactly.
Butler.
Like, and so for me, seeing them make it to the finals last year, I don't want to doubt them again going into this year. I don't want to doubt them until we get to the playoffs and they look terrible.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they won't make it back to the finals, but maybe they prove me wrong.
Listen, stranger things have happened. I mean, for example, last season. So, you really never know. Like, I just don't feel like sleeping on them for right now because, again, like I said, like in the previous podcast, they're going to be one of those teams where the regular season really doesn't matter to them. Because you're probably going to doubt them and sleep on them in the playoffs, and then they're probably going to make you pay, just like they made every team pay last year for it. So, but I do agree that I think the Pacers can beat them for sure. I really wish T.J. Warren was healthy because I love to see T.J. Warren, Karis LeVert, and Sabonis at the same time. But we got to wait for that. So, but
what is their starting lineup look like? It's Malcolm Brogdon, who I also like. I want him to be a Laker at one point.
Yeah,
it's Karis LeVert, right? It's Sabonis. It's Miles Turner, right? And who's that three?
That's a good question. It's usually Holiday
who's
Doug McDermott?
Oh yeah, Justin Holiday.
Yeah,
Justin Holiday.
It's usually Holiday and McDermott.
It'd probably been T.J. Warren. It'd probably been T.J. Warren if he was healthy, unless he'd been coming off the bench. I would like to see T.J. Warren as like a 6-man type. I think that's his niche. A 6-man type player. Yeah,
that's not bad.
Because he was a superstar in the bubble. Well, obviously, I don't think that's what he is. I think that bubble helped him a lot, but I think that he can use that same type of confidence to come in and dominate bench units and be a 6-man of the year type player perennially.
Okay, I can see that. Hard to disagree with that. I can see that for sure. I'm hoping he gets back to that bubble form though, because the Pacers sure could use it.
Oh yeah, it was fun to watch. Yeah, it was fun. And then you a Pacers fan, so you definitely want to see it. You want to see it for real.
But wow, yeah, it'll be interesting. Again, the East. Finally, we have Eastern Conference.
Some competition.
Like it could be really fun to watch the East this year for sure. Because now at this point, you're like, man, who really could come out the East? The 76ers are playing at a high level. You can never really sleep on the Boston Celtics because they always do really good in the East. Of course, you got the juggernaut, the offensive juggernaut in the Brooklyn Nets. You got the Pacers on the rise. Then you got the Heat, who everybody decided to sleep on last year.
You haven't said the Bucks yet, so
get that.
You got the Bucks too.
You got them, and then you got the Bucks, who always ends up as the 1 seed in the East. You got Giannis, who's always going to play well every year. So you could sit here and say it's definitely going to be the Nets, but to be honest with you, you really never know.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if the Nets didn't make it to the finals, but I want them to make it to the finals.
I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't either, but they definitely have a huge chance. That's for sure. It's hard to it's hard to doubt them when you got Kyrie and KD, who have both won championships and been to the finals already. Got James Harden, who went to the finals, but that was in like 2012, and he was a 6-man, and he was young. And then he was in the Western Conference Finals, Game 7, and he lost to one of the greatest teams we've ever seen assembled. So it's kind of hard to doubt them and say that they won't make it. I think the only thing that'll keep them from making it is just how well they play together. Because, like you said, it's not health reasons too. You're right. Because KD and Kyrie,
health and chemistry,
health-wise, especially Kyrie, kind of been iffy. But because, like you said earlier, a lot of things sound good on paper. Like on paper, this sounds like the best team in the league. But when they actually get on that court together, that's kind of a different story. So only time will tell what happens with them. But it'll be interesting to see. We'll see how happy James Harden really is now. See how happy Kevin Durant is now, but I really want to see how happy Kyrie is, whether he's happy or not. Because trust me, his between his interviews and his emotions on the court, you'll know whether or not he's happy with the situation. So,
yeah, something tells me we're gonna find out soon enough.
Exactly. Hoping to find out sooner rather than later. But I don't know. Did they even say how long Kyrie's hiatus was? I know it's been like 4 or 5 days so far, but like,
well, no, I just said they didn't expect him anymore this week.
I can see that. I mean, it has been 5 days already, so that kind of makes sense. But the Eastern Conference is going to be fun to watch come playoff time, though.
Yeah, well, I'll tune in.
It's going to be.
I'm obviously.
I know a lot of people were really watching the West last year, but now you got to watch both for sure. Now, do you think?
Yeah.
If the Brooklyn Nets were to lose, do you think that there would need to be some major changes made to that roster or some minor changes if they were to lose? So let's say they lose in like the Eastern Conference Finals or something, right? To like somebody good like the Bucks or the 76ers. Do you think that they would need to make big changes, like one of the stars will have to go, or would it just be minor changes and they just need to add some depth?
I think they need to add some depth. I think they need to add some depth right now. But obviously they can't. But they need the depth right now. I don't think that this sounds like a championship or bust season type for them. But because they have 3 stars. But at the end of the day, they just now. I mean, it is early in the season still, like 10, 13 games in, but it's just like being thrown together. It's thrown together without the depth that they need to compete at a high level for a sustained period of time. I mean, their 3 stars are going to get them where they need to be in theory, but like I said, like after Kevin Durant, after James Harden or whoever you think's third on that team, probably Kyrie, who's their next best player?
Right now, without Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, I guess.
And he's a specialist. He gets paid to shoot. He's not like moving. I don't know. And then next year, if they don't do anything this year, next year they get Spencer Dinwiddie back, run it back with Spencer Dinwiddie and see what happens.
Right. That would be very interesting. I don't know if Spencer Dinwiddie is going to be happy being that 4th option, because I could tell he kind of liked that I'm going to be this 3rd option on such a great team. I don't know if he's going to like that 4th option thing. Because Spencer Dinwiddie is definitely one of those players who he's confident in his abilities, and you should be. So I just don't know if he's going to like this whole I'm a 4th option type of thing. I'm only going to touch the ball 2 times a game. I don't think he's going to like that. I think he feels like he's a better player than that. So
yeah. Well, yeah, man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. It was a very interesting trade. I mean, we knew it was going to come sometime. Just didn't think it would be this soon. Again, actually, at this point, I really didn't think it would be Brooklyn. I really thought it was going to be the 76ers for sure.
I still think it should have been, but for the Rockets' sake,
right?
I think it should have been the 70. But they didn't. We just got to go with what we got.
Yeah. I do think the Rockets plan on doing more with these picks, though. I don't think that they plan on just selling out with these picks and saying, okay, well, time to rebuild. I do think that they may use some of these picks in some trades later on. Who would they trade for? I don't know. But I got a feeling that that's why they got so many. It's not just we're going to rebuild thing. It's we'll use some of these picks.
Bradley Beal.
Hey, they might. So I'm saying they got plenty of picks. They can do something. They can make a move like that. I mean, Bradley Beal does want to be free. I mean, everybody's saying free Bradley Beal, so it could happen. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But I think the only team to me, besides, I mean, the Rockets, They did get Oladipo. They did get a lot of picks. I still think that they should have got another major superstar, but at least they got picks to help them do something else later on. But I think the only team to me that got the weird end of the stick was, to me, the Cavs, just because they got another big man that they didn't really need.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a weird addition to that trade. The Cavs being involved and getting Jared Allen out of it.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
And not shipping a big man out.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. But maybe they got something going on in Cleveland we don't know about.
Yeah, they're trying to be Twin Towers. They're trying to be like when the Lakers were playing Gasol and Bynum at the same time.
Hey, they might be, and you never know, it might work out.
But then again, that don't work because that's not it either. Because Gasol actually was an offensive threat.
Ooh, okay, yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, he didn't have to stand in the paint and do. Gasol had the post moves and could step out and shoot the long mid range jumper.
Pass when you needed it.
Corner threes. Yeah, pass when you needed it. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Jared Allen and Andre Drummond ain't doing that. Right?
No, they not.
That's just weird. But okay, we got anything else for today?
No, that's it. Shout out to Brooklyn for pulling it off, because they did what almost seemed like the impossible. But yeah, they pulled it off though. They got it. They got what they wanted. Right. Got to do something with it now. And to be honest with me, when you got this championship, because when is it not been?
Yeah, it should be.
So, in my opinion, even though, I mean, we're still at the beginning of the season. We're only 10 games in, so it's not like we're a third of the way through the season or even halfway through the season. So they still got a lot of time to get it figured out. They'll still be a playoff team no matter what. So, in my opinion, the championship or bust. How you feel about that?
I agree with you. This has been another episode of the Point Godcast. We'll see y'all next time.